Abby, you have to distance yourself from Trump derangement syndrome. It's irrelevant to policy. It doesn't matter.
Okay,
what matters is, why are all these AI guys on this trip?
Have you heard of the Emoluments clause?
Wait. Why do you have all the leaders?
Kevin, no, seriously, it's a serious question. Have you heard of the Emoluments clause?
Abby Phillip went head-to-head with far-right MAGA supporter Kevin O'Leary on her CNN show in what turned into a lively and packed panel discussion. Alongside Kevin O'Leary, the conversation also included another outspoken MAGA supporter, Scott Jennings, as well as bakery sellers, Van Lathan, and Karen Finney. In this video, we're going to break down some of the biggest moments from the debate featuring Abby Phillip, Kevin O'Leary, Scott Jennings, and the rest of the panel. I'll also be sharing my own thoughts and reactions along the way, so with that said, let's jump right in and get started.
According to our reporting, some of the deals going on right now: Saudi Arabia, 2 luxury towers, Live Golf Partnership, Qatar, Golf Club and Villas, UAE, luxury hotel, cryptocurrency deal, Oman, resort and golf project.
And the dinner.
I mean this sincerely. I mean, does it bother you that this is happening at the same time that these nation states are also trying to curry favor with Trump himself?
Well, it doesn't really bother me that people are in business for years, then their dad gets elected president, and then they continue to go on in business. We knew we were electing a businessman president. We knew his family was in business. So I think the American people have full visibility into that. Number 2.
But we're talking about new deals here, not existing deals.
Well, they're business people. They're cutting deals all the time.
You're okay with them cutting deals while Trump is sitting in the White House when he's going over there
countries that
to
are
negotiate
actively doing negotiations with
They're negotiating with every country in the world every day. Well, let me answer your question, the specific criticism about Hunter Biden. All the things you just mentioned, towers, golf courses, hotels, resorts, tangible things.
Cryptocurrency and meme coins, Scott, don't forget those.
You do something, money exchanges hands, a service is provided, a tower is built, a golf course is developed. Can you name one tangible service other than finger paintings that Hunter Biden provided for any money that changed hands?
I do think that is a fair critique of the Hunter Biden of it all. But you're not addressing the fact that in all.
If Hunter Biden and Joe Biden had been building hotels, signing defense contracts, and launching cryptocurrency ventures while in the White House, Scott Jennings would have been the first person speaking out against it simply because they have a letter D next to their names. But since Donald Trump is a Republican and the leader of the MAGA movement, Scott Jennings does what he always seems to do and bends over backward to defend him. At the end of the day, that's really what this comes down to. It's nothing more than pure hypocrisy.
Any of these things, they have to go to the political leadership of the countries to get them approved. That doesn't address that at all.
Abby, at 10:07, Scott was telling me how the biggest modern day conspiracy we've had in terms of a president scandal was Joe Biden and his health. And he said that, and then he criticized Chuck Schumer, right, about the fact that he didn't have any character because he didn't stand up to it. But at 10:27, 10:28, the argument has changed, because what we do know is that there is a $400 million jet from Qatar. What we do know is that there is a $5.5 million golf course in Qatar. What we do know is what Syria is offering Donald Trump. And what we do know is that the things that are happening in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, buying meme coins that mean absolutely nothing. The fact is, and I would love for Scott to be able to answer this question, but for the fact, and that's when I didn't really do well in law school, but I remember but for the fact Donald Trump is president of the United States, none of this would happen. And so that is what you call a kleptocracy. And so when you have children, and no, and 1 second, Kevin, because you wanted to talk about Kevin O'Leary, you wanted to talk about Kamala Harris being mediocre. Donald Trump Jr. and what's the other one? Eric are the definition of what mediocre is. And what I'm saying is that now they are reaping the benefits of their father.
Different direction?
Please.
Just for a moment. Please.
No, guide me. I'm blind.
What does this have?
I always enjoy watching bakery sellers take on these guys, especially Scott Jennings. I just hope they're not secretly friends behind the scenes because, honestly, that would be pretty disappointing to find out.
With Middle East policy, please, just a moment.
Oh, no, please.
Excuse me.
Oh, yes,
what does this have to do with the fact that he is trying to create a circle of friendship with the fastest growing geographies in the world before China does.
But wait a second.
Wait, let me finish.
Well,
on this trip, I just want to introduce an idea. This has nothing to do with policy.
Go ahead. I'm locked in.
What does this have to do with policy?
The one thing that I've heard for the last 4 or 5 years is anytime anyone had any criticism of the United States foreign policy in Gaza or whatever, is that these people would be being paid by a resource-rich government that propped up and funded terrorism, which was over in Qatar. Every single time. They were buying influence in Ivy League schools. They were buying influence in social media. They were buying influence everywhere. So anytime you saw somebody
you want to push these countries away.
that you were saying that anytime somebody was thought to have any dealings with the Qataris, they were thought as being intellectually and morally tainted. Except the President of the United States, who takes a $400 million plane from them, literally is refurbishing it to be Air Force.
Who cares about the plane? What does that have to do with the fact?
Because it's
Wait a second.
Because it's
You know what?
A lot of Americans care about the plane because, to them, it has become a symbol of corruption. In their eyes, this is the most corrupt president the country has ever seen, and they believe the plane is just another example of that.
Why focus on something that is irrelevant to the policy?
It's not irrelevant.
It's completely irrelevant.
How is it irrelevant?
Would you rather have the Chinese there? Would you rather have them there?
Kevin, the United States Constitution would like to have a word. The United States Constitution would like to have a word. That's why people care, right?
People care
because the
of the
reason that that's in the Constitution is to prevent the President of the United States from accepting things that are being perceived as bribes.
What is the national
The goal of the
this
trip is not to get a giant gift that he can say belongs to him as president, but then he takes with him when he leaves the office.
Abby, you have to distance yourself from Trump derangement syndrome. It's irrelevant to policy. It doesn't matter.
Okay,
what matters
Kevin,
is, why are all these AI guys on this trip?
Have you heard of the Emoluments clause?
Wait.
Just look at Scott Jennings sitting there in the background with that smug smile on his face. He's already done his usual routine of looking over at the camera with a smirk, and now he's sitting there laughing. I really hope that once Trump is no longer part of the political conversation, the phrase Trump derangement syndrome finally disappears, because it's one of the most childish and lazy arguments anyone can make. But that's exactly the kind of response you'd expect from Kevin O'Leary, Scott Jennings, and the rest of the MAGA crowd. At this point, this kind of behavior is nothing new coming from them.
Why are all these AI guys on this trip?
Have you heard of the Emoluments clause?
Wait. Why do you have all the leaders?
Kevin, no, seriously, it's a serious question. Have you heard of the Emoluments clause? Do you understand that that is in the Constitution?
He doesn't. No.
And do you understand that even if you think that maybe it might be okay,
how many fairies dance on a pin does not do policy.
Incredibly dubious.
So let me ask you a question.
That, right?
So I'm sorry.
Let me just say, but Kevin doesn't operate by the same morals and ethics and values that we're talking about.
I'm above that. I focus on
because
policy.
You're so rich, you get to be above it. That's
it's nothing
lovely.
to do with wealth. It's policy.
No, but here's the point about the policy. Let me make one point, fellas. Whew. If someone is willing to take a $400 million plane from a government, that the kinds of things that Van was talking about, people have said, even Ted Cruz had some issues with this. What else is he willing to do? And Scott, you're talking about these tangible things. Meme coins are not tangible. They're nothing. Cryptocurrency is nothing. There is a bidding war going on right now with governments and countries and companies. We have no idea what their alignments are to buy enough meme coins to buy access to our
There was a story tonight in the New York Times about a very mysterious company that bought hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Trump meme coins with links to China. So, there's some real questions and concerns about the money that is being made here.
The emoluments thing you raised, it's a good question. It's a legitimate debating point, and I assume it'll ultimately be tested in court. The administration has a point of view on it. I assume they're going to be sued, or I don't know how you would get it into court on this, but my assumption is ultimately the Supreme Court is the only people who can give us some arbitration on this, so I assume that's where it's headed.
Scott Jennings wraps things up by pointing to the Supreme Court, which, of course, is made up mostly of conservative justices. Then they move on to defending that $400 million plane, even though reports now suggest it could end up costing another $1 billion just to make it fully operational. At the same time, Donald Trump reportedly earned around $2.4 billion over the past year, more than at any other point in his career. Scott Jennings and Kevin O'Leary can keep insisting that Trump is simply an incredible businessman, but it's hard to ignore the fact that he's making more money while serving in the White House than he ever did before. Is that really just because he's a great businessman? I don't believe so. It's because a president has access to influence, opportunities, and international relationships that even the richest private businessperson could never match. We've never seen allegations of corruption on this scale before. Then watch how quickly they dismiss the Emoluments clause as soon as Abby Phillip brings it up. Kevin O'Leary acts like it's not a big deal, and Scott Jennings follows the same approach. But here's what makes it so ironic. If a Democrat wins the White House in 2028 and accepts something as small as a t-shirt from another country, these same people would immediately start talking about the Emoluments clause and call it the biggest corruption scandal in American history. You already know exactly how that would play out because hypocrisy has become their entire strategy. I've said many times on this channel that calling out hypocrisy doesn't change people like this because they simply don't care. Abby Phillip, Bakery Sellers, and the rest of the panel try to expose those double standards, but it rarely makes a difference because it's impossible to shame people who don't feel any shame. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you on the side of Kevin O'Leary and Scott Jennings, or do you agree with Bakery Sellers, Van Lathan, and Karen Finney that this kind of alleged corruption is completely unacceptable? Share your thoughts below, don't forget to leave a like, and subscribe for more videos.